¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses come with open-ear audio, so you can listen to your favorite music without blocking out the world around you.
Hey Meta, play Gorgeous.
Here's Gorgeous by Doja Cat.
You can also ask Meta AI questions.
Hey Meta, when's Doja Cat's next concert?
Doja Cat is playing at the Los Angeles Theater next Tuesday.
Sweet.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, available at Ray-Ban stores and other authorized retailers.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi! Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. Yesterday was, of course, once again, the 62nd anniversary of the brutal murder of President John F. Kennedy in the streets of Dallas. Joining us now is the JFK researcher in the country who I respect above all others. I speak, of course, of New York City lawyer Larry Schnapf, who is more knowledgeable on the subject than literally anyone I know, and a man who regards it completely and totally without political bias, taking his research where the facts go. Larry, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Roger. Thank you. Sorry for the delay. I had little phone problems.
Not at all. We're going to adjust for that. I want to get your reaction to two things. One is this story we saw earlier in the week that, according to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who I know you met with not long ago, and hopefully you'll be working more closely with because she's a true American hero in her pursuit of the missing information we still don't have. There were reports of a CIA whistleblower revealing that there were those in the agency bragging about their efforts to mislead congressional investigators regarding Lee Harvey Oswald's activities in Mexico before President Kennedy was assassinated. What do you make of this, Larry?
Yes, this is Tom Piercy, and we knew about this story a couple years ago. We knew about this fact that he went into this CIA facility in Herndon, Virginia, and they had a special SCIF room for JFK records. And it was a file misfiled in the records he was looking for. He wasn't looking for JFK records. He had previously worked with the State Department. He was working on the Foreign Relations series for the Carter years. And there was this misfiled document, and it was a 50-page IG Inspector General report showing how there was basically a damage assessment saying how they performed with the HSCA. And they were bragging about how they basically fooled them, and no damage had been done. Now, this man was afraid of releasing his name all these years, but particularly during the Biden administration, because he feared he was going to be prosecuted, as you know. And once President Trump issued his executive order, he now became free enough to actually put his name to the story. And he's a very credible person. And I think CIA Director Rutledge needs to get to the bottom of this. And if there's a SCIF full of JFK records, President Trump's order has essentially declassified every record the government has about JFK assassination. Those records should be released immediately.
Yeah, I think you were the one who pointed out to me that as good as the president's order was, it wasn't really sufficiently broad, meaning it ordered the National Archives to make everything public. But as you pointed out to me, there are various bureaus and elements in our government who still have records regarding the assassination that they never turned over to the National Archives.
That is true, and in the lawsuit that I'm co-counsel to with Mary Farrell, we're going to be amending our complaint and take the litigation position that President Trump's order is broad enough. It's The way it's been implemented they've been focusing on the records in the JFK collection, which are the records that are in the possession of the National Archives. But President Trump said that he determined that it's in the public interest for all records to be released that pertain to the JFK assassination. So we're going to take the litigation position that it applies to all records. But the energy has been focused so far on releasing the records in the collection. But these are records that were never turned over to the CIA. In fact, there's a memo that was uncovered which indicated they had provided a sanitized 3-volume set of records to Professor Blakely when he was head of the HSCA, sanitized versions. And he looked at them and gave them back. The CIA person there said, "Is there any questions you have?" He said, "No." And they said he never found a person that was more uncurious than Robert Blakely. So this set of this SCIF room, we need to get to Director Ratcliffe and get him to let someone get in there and take a look at the records to see what's there.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of JFK researcher and respected attorney Larry Schnapf on the other side.
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift?
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan. Real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
And we're back. We're talking to Larry Schnapf, one of the most respected JFK researchers in the country, a very able New York-based lawyer who's brought a number of lawsuits to compel the U.S. government to release remaining JFK assassination records in the past, and I believe is doing the same today. Larry, I want to ask you about an incredible document which you sent me, a document which I have read about but never actually seen until now. This is a top secret report from the U.S. Justice Department reporting on sources in the Soviet Union who summarizing the views of the Soviet government in 1963 to the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And the most shocking revelation in this document is that the KGB, based on their own investigation and sources, believe that Lyndon Baines Johnson was the driving force, as I do, behind the assassination of John Kennedy. What do you make of this document?
Yeah, this was recently declassified. It's from 1966, and Hoover's forwarding this discovery to Marvin Watson at LBJ's office. And the reason I forwarded it to you is because Representative Luna had recently obtained from the Russians some sort of Russian dossier of about 100-something pages, and it hasn't been translated yet. But I don't think, from what the few people that have looked at it and who have Russian skills that this may not be the document that Hoover was referring to. But apparently the Soviets did a 2-year investigation in 64 and 65 on the assassination. And I don't believe we've seen this, the actual report. We have this memo summarizing what the findings are. But I think this should be brought to the attention of Secretary of State Rubio, and maybe we can get this as part of the Ukraine negotiations. I don't know. I'm just, the Russians appear to be willing to turn over documents to us that they have about the Kennedy assassination. There's still 5 feet of records from the KGB in Minsk. So this might be a very opportune time to try to get these records. But this is kind of a bombshell.
It is a fascinating reading. And then lastly, you have been in the forefront of those who I think have been pointing out a number of documents that are not in the JFK records collection maintained by the National Archives, but which would be absolutely essential to getting a fuller picture of who killed John F. Kennedy. Give us a quick rundown of those, if you would.
Yeah, so when I met with Representative Luna, they asked me for a list of priority documents, and so I sent them to them. And we have talked about some of these in the past, but the leading ones, I think, are the FBI had a sting operation on Carlos Marcello in the mid-1980s, where he was allegedly caught on tape indicating that he was behind the assassination, that he knew Oswald, and that he actually was the one that put Ruby, in Dallas. Marcello was a very strong supporter of LBJ. I mean, he gave him lots of money, both in 1960 and before then. So we need to get these tapes, which were sealed during the Camtex sting operation released. There's also records that the CIA conducted right after the assassination. They apparently did an investigation in Miami of Cuban exiles and Castro supporters. They denied they did this, but from November 63 to March 64, they conducted this investigation. They did daily reports, and when the HSCA was around, this Donald Heath was the one who was in charge of this investigation, advised them of these reports that were sitting in the CIA, in an office in the CIA, and when there was no follow-up, and we didn't know who this man Donald Heath was for all these years because his name was redacted. He died in I think in 2018, and we learned his name then. So those memos should be pulled up. Walter Sheridan did an investigation for Bobby Kennedy, and when the Assassination Review Board tried to get those files that he had deposited with the JFK Library, he had them sent to NBC, and as part of the Garrison investigation, and the ARB actually sued for those records, but then they went out of business and couldn't get them. So we've asked Congresswoman Luna to get copies of those. There are also papers of RFK that he had removed papers from the White House right after the president was shot, and we're trying to get those as well. And then we're trying to get the William Harvey travel records from 1963. This is another news item that occurred since the last time you and I spoke. The records that were released in March, there was a record there showing that Bill Harvey, after he had been relieved relieved from command of the ZR rifle assassination group, got a certificate from the FAA, which allowed him to travel domestically in the United States without being put on any travel the list of travelers. And there is evidence that he was meeting in Florida with Johnny Roselli in April of '63, was making phone calls to Chicago and to Los Angeles, and had dinner with some Americans who were not undercover, and also paid for a first-class ticket back to Chicago. So what is he doing in the United States working on assassination materials? All these expenses were charged to the assassination effort, the ZR Rifle Group. So this is important information. We never before knew the FAA was involved with this. And leads me to believe that maybe Roselli and David Morales and others were traveling without being on the travel manifest either. So this is an important thing to get. And Representative Luna said she's going to try to get the copies of the transcripts of the interviews that William Manchester took of Bobby Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy for his book, Death of a President. The tapes were sealed at the request of the Kennedy family, not to be released till 2067. But apparently, Representative Luna is tenacious, and she's apparently gotten permission to at least get the transcripts. Right. So we're making progress, but you and I got to talk about getting some other of the agencies moving a little faster. We shouldn't have to rely on Representative Luna, one person, to get all these records released to comply with the order.
Agreed. All right, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. I want to thank our guest, Larry Schnapf, for joining us on the day after the 62nd anniversary of the assassination of JFK. Once again, sadly, more questions than answers today. You're listening to The Roger Stone Show, and we'll be right back.